Hi everyone! Welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Catherine and you've found your way to my little corner of the internet. On this channel, we talk about things revolving around blindness and visual impairments specifically. I also do a lot of fun sort of art and journaling and basically just videos that I enjoy, hobbies that I enjoy, and that I think you might find interesting, whether it's from a disability perspective or simply because you enjoy doing these things too. So I hope you enjoy. If you want to see more content like this, please feel free to hit that subscribe button and the bell so that you're notified when I post new videos. And if you don't want more content like this, well, thanks for stopping by. So today I'm going to talk about some different things that I had to learn growing up as a legally blind person that if your eyes work correctly, you probably don't have to learn or really think that much about. The first thing that I had to learn was how to orient myself in space in a new environment, and sometimes even in a familiar environment. These lessons work best when you start with a familiar environment and then work up to the more difficult, unfamiliar environments. So I had to learn how to identify landmarks, what landmarks were, and how to use them to figure out where I was. So when I go downtown, I need to know that, oh, okay, I'm getting close because I can see the church, and I know that the church is at the top of the hill, and then when I go down the hill, I know that I need to go right or left, or I need to make sure that I know to cross the street. But I can use that landmark of the church to say, okay, now I know where I am because I know where the church is. I also needed to learn how to use a map. And you might say, well, Catherine, that's not unusual. Everyone needs to learn how to use a map. Okay, that's true. However, I had to learn how to use a map in a much more detailed way because I can't translate that visual representation of the map into my actual physical environment anywhere near as quickly or as effectively. I can't look at a map of my college campus and say, okay, student union is here, library is here. Oh, so that means I just go here to here and it's fine. I need to look at that map. I need to recognize, okay, I'm in the student union. I need to know what part of the union I'm in so that I know which side of the building I'm going to be coming out on, so that I can then come out on the correct side. And I need to know if there's a big street in front of me. I need to be able to look at the map to figure out where a safe place to cross might be. And generally that's a corner. So I need to look at the map and say, okay, do I need to go right or left to find a corner? Or is there a crosswalk right in front of me? If there is, awesome. If there's not, I need to say, okay, there's a corner over here. Oh, but that looks like it's really far away because I had to go a long way on the map. Is there a closer one on the right? Oh, okay. No, the closest one is actually on the left. So I need to then know that, okay, so I need to turn left. I need to walk to the corner, and then I cross and find the library. But this is a very long process, and it's something that I need to actually think through a lot, much to the annoyance of my guide dog, I might mention, because he would just like to walk and get on with the whole thing. But in order for me to actually know where I am, I need to be able to look at that map, and I need to be able to translate that into where I actually physically am in space. And when you can't just quickly see street signs around you, when you can't just quickly find, you know, little obscure like numbers for addresses and things like that, it's a process. So that's something that I needed to learn how to do. And I remember very distinctly during my O&M lessons in high school, actually practicing that with a big old map of the city that I live in. And then taking that knowledge from the map and going to actual places and translating that into real life. How do I get from point A to point B? And that's actually a skill that served me really well when I went to college and when I had to learn the college campuses on my own, because I didn't have orientation and mobility. I was out of school, and while here in Maine we have very good services for the blind, there just wasn't an O&M instructor available at the time. So I used the skills that I had learned all growing up, all through primary school and secondary school, all through all those grades, all that information that my O&M teacher crammed into my head. I used that and was able to negotiate and learn this very new environment all on my own. And that was a really wonderful feeling, realizing that I actually did that all by myself because I had the skills to do that. It's very empowering. So orientation and mobility skills, learning how to orient myself in a whole new environment. For me, I also had to learn how to orient myself at night because I am night blind, as I've mentioned. I see absolutely nothing when my environment is dark. So I also had to learn how to use streetlight patterns and traffic lights and different things like that to know where I am. And we were actually able to do these after school lessons pretty easily because in winter in Maine, it gets dark at like 3:30. So it was pretty easy to just, have me wait until dark and I could do my homework or something until it was time to go out in the dark, because most of those lessons, most of the school year takes place in winter. And in winter, here in Maine, it gets dark pretty early, so that was an easy one. Going along with that, I also had to learn how to ask for and interpret directions. And this is something that we worked on when I was in, I don't remember if it was 4th or 5th grade, but I remember having to find a teacher or go to the office and ask the secretary, and to actually ask for directions to places in the school that I knew how to get to, the person I was asking knew I knew how to get to, and my O&M teacher knew that I knew how to get to. But she wanted to make sure that I really understood how to ask for directions and how to interpret the directions that were given to me, because it's something that I'm going to have to do a lot. Because I can't just look quickly and see signs, street signs, building signs, room signs, any of those signs. I can't just quickly look and find those things. It takes a long time, and sometimes really the fastest and most effective way to get what I need is to just ask for directions. So I needed to know how to ask for them, and I needed to know how to interpret what I was being told. Because again, I can't just quickly say, oh, it's over to the left, and oh, yep, I see it, it's right there. That doesn't usually happen. So I need to know, okay, I might have to ask for a little more detail. I might have to say, okay, the gym is on the right-hand side down the hall, but how many rooms is that? Or how many doors is that? Do you happen to know, do you happen to know the room number? If I know I'm starting at room 1 or room 10 or whatever number I'm starting at, if you happen to know the room number and you've also given me directions, then I can also count, like, okay, so I'm at room 10, gym is room 15, so that's 15 rooms. There might be more than 15 doors, but at least I have a baseline to start with. And in learning how to ask for and interpret directions that were given to me, my instructor also had me learn how to give detailed directions, so that when I asked for directions, I also knew what good detailed directions were. because without being able to ask for those directions and without being able to give those directions, how would I ever actually really know that what I was receiving was useful? I wouldn't. So we would practice. She would ask me, okay, tell me how to get to your classroom. Maybe we were at the office. And so I would have to say, okay, well, we're going to come out, and when you get to the door of the office, you have to turn left, and it's the 4th door on your right. And be very specific. And that was really useful because now I know what good directions sound like. Part of these lessons, because of course the entire point of orientation and mobility training for a blind person is to learn how to navigate the world safely and gracefully and how to be independent. And so part of what I needed to learn was how to travel independently. So when I was in high school, my teacher took me up to the airport and showed me, this is how you find the ticket counter. This is where you look for the signs for the airlines so you know which ticket counter you're getting into. I had to learn when I went to an airport or a bus station or a train station, I had to learn where to find the signs for the bathroom or the gate signs, like for departure gates. I had to learn all those things. And I had to learn how to find the people who could help me when I did need to ask for direction. Another thing that I needed to learn was how to use a white cane. Because my field of vision is so small, I really can't see anything unless it is in front of my eyes. I cannot see my hand right now. I am under the impression that most people with normal visual fields could see their hand if it's up next to their face the way mine is right now. I cannot see this hand. So that gives you some idea. I can't see things when they come up. So I needed to learn how to use a white cane. But because my eyesight is so useful, what I have is so useful, we didn't realize that I needed that until about 7th grade. So I learned how to use a white cane in 7th grade. That was awkward. Extremely awkward. I will say, if you are in a similar situation, I know you probably feel embarrassed. I know you probably feel very awkward and perhaps are angry about the fact that you have to learn how to use this stupid white stick, or just are embarrassed because you have to carry it around in front of all your friends. I know for me, I felt very awkward. I was already awkward. I knew I was awkward. I was always shy, always very quiet. I knew I was different. And now I have to learn how to use this big white stick. Really? Just one more thing to make me different? It's awkward and it's embarrassing. But you will be glad when you are older. And I know adults tell you that all the time. Adults told me that all the time. It's really annoying to hear. You kind of stop believing it after a while. But it's true, because once I went away to college, I really embraced the cane because I really realized at that point just how useful it was, not only at night, but during the day, getting to my classes, and even just in announcing to other people that there was something different about me, whether they knew that the white cane meant that I was blind or not. It announced to other people that, hey, there's something going on with this girl, be aware. Because I might not have always been as aware as I should have been, could have been, and I might not have been able to be more aware. So it's just a good way to let people know that something's up. They might not know what, and they might, but they might not. But either way, having that white cane announces to the world, something's up, pay attention. And when you're in 7th grade, that is the last thing in the world you want. But it's also very important. And as you get older and as you begin to travel more and have more experiences and go places and do things, it really is useful. Another thing that I had to be taught how to do was to cross the street. I had to actually be taught, and this is something that my O&M instructor worked on with me from the time I was 5 years old all the way up until my senior year in high school. If I remember correctly, we were still practicing crossing streets like 2 weeks before my graduation from high school. So yeah, street crossings, very, very, very important, because when you can't just see and look quickly and say, oh cool, no cars are coming, it's really important to know how to use traffic lights, how to use the flow of traffic, how to use crosswalks, crosswalk signs, how to use all of that to your advantage to help keep you safe when you cross, and how to listen for traffic that may or may not be coming towards you. Oh, that's really important. And I had to be taught all of that, because when you're blind, being told to just, oh, well, just make sure you look both ways before you cross the street so that you know that no one's coming. That's not useful, because looking both ways does me no good, because I can't necessarily see that a car's coming. So I need to listen. I need to learn how to judge how far away a car may or may not be, which is something that I personally am very cautious about. I tend to wait for cars that perhaps I really could have made it across the street long before they got there. But I tend to wait for them because it's hard to judge their speed. It's hard to judge how far away they are. I have no depth perception. So even if I see them coming, I really am not sure how far away they are. I'm really not sure how fast they're coming towards me. Cars have gotten so much quieter, so it's a lot harder to hear them. And so it's just one of those things that I needed to learn. And I'm very glad I did. And it's something that working with a guide dog has made much safer and much easier and much less stressful. But it's still something that was really important for me to learn and to actually be taught, and not just kind of figure it out as I went, which I couldn't believe when I was told as an adult that people just kind of figured out how to cross the street on their own. It's like, what do you mean? How is that safe? Well, it's because they have eyes that work properly and I don't. Something else that I had to be taught was how to scan my environment. So how to scan for, let's say, a street sign. When you have normal eyesight, you can probably just quickly look and something will catch your eye, either out of the corner of your eye or just because you have normal fields, you just see it. And oh look, there's the street sign. Oh, okay, this is Broadway, cool. Well, that doesn't work very well for me. So I had to learn how to scan for objects. I had to learn that, street signs are typically on poles, like those nice gray poles, which blend into everything else, so woohoo. But I had to learn how to start from the bottom, like start from the road or the sidewalk, and actually turn my head and scan back and forth until I found that pole that the street sign was most likely on. Then once I found that pole, I had to learn to, now I found it, now I'm gonna take my head, I'm gonna move my head, because remember, my eyes don't have the fields to just be able to look straight. So I have to take my head, I have to move my head all the way up, and either there is or is not a street sign at the top of that pole. If there is, awesome. I might still have to cross the street to actually read the sign, I might not, but I found the sign. If the sign isn't at the top of that pole, I have to start all over again. The other thing I learned was how to find stop signs and other sort of big important traffic signs, because the other thing that I was taught is that sometimes street signs are on top of stop signs or other important traffic signs, which also makes it a lot easier, because a big bright red stop sign is a lot easier to spot than a little tiny green street sign. So just scanning for objects that I've dropped because I dropped them and I didn't necessarily hear where they landed or they bounced. Scanning for people in crowds, which is probably the most difficult thing to do because people are always moving and from one day to the next. They don't typically wear the same thing. So I can't say, oh, Julie is always wearing a red shirt. I need to look for a red shirt. Well, Julie might be wearing a red shirt today. Or Julie might be wearing a green shirt or a blue shirt. Or Julie might be wearing a dress. Or if Julie is wearing a red shirt, she might have put her jacket on or a sweater on over her red shirt because she's cold. So people are probably the hardest to scan for and to find, because they're just always moving, they're never in the same place, and their appearance can change even on the same day, even within the same couple of minutes, depending on what accessories they do or don't have to cover up what I think they should be wearing, or what I've been told that they're wearing. So scanning was a very important thing for me to learn how to do, and again, this is something that I practiced a lot with an instructor, because it's not something that would necessarily come naturally to me, and it's not something that I realized I needed. So along with all of this orientation and mobility stuff that I was learning, also came learning how to use public transportation. And again, I don't mean just sort of in the generic way that most people learn how to use it, like, oh, well, here's a map and here's when the buses run and there you go. I had to actually learn how to use it. I had to learn the routes that the buses took. I had to learn where the signs may or may not be on the buses to tell me which bus I was getting on. I had to learn how to communicate with the bus driver and ask them, when I get on a bus now, I actually ask, oh, is this bus A? Yes, no? Because I need to make sure that I'm getting on the right bus, because otherwise it's gonna take me a long time to get to where I'm going. I needed to learn how to navigate the sort of like that bus depot, where all the buses kind of converge together when you can trade buses. I need to learn how to navigate that safely because it's very busy, it's very crowded, there are lots of buses, there's lots of noise, there's the sound of many buses together, and while buses themselves are not quiet, thank goodness, when you have a bunch of them together, it becomes very difficult to hear if you're close to one or not, or if one is coming up on you or not. So I had to learn to navigate that, and again, I had to learn where to look for the buses that I was waiting for. I had to learn how to deal with bus stops and like how to find that little cord that you have to pull. I had to learn how to keep track of where I was on the bus, and if I can't keep track of where I am on the bus, or more specifically where the bus is, then I also had to learn how to make sure that the driver knew that I needed help, and to be a little more vocal and remind the driver every so often that I was still there and needed help, which I will admit I'm still not very good at. Kind of comes back to one of those things, it's rather embarrassing, but it's something I need, so I need to work on it and I need to continue to get better at that. But I needed to learn how to use public transportation. I couldn't just be told, oh, just take the bus and you'll figure it out, because I wouldn't figure it out. So I practiced that a lot, and I actually took the public bus home whenever I would stay after school in high school. I would take the city bus home. It was good practice to get myself home, and it also made life a little easier on my mother, because then that meant that she didn't have to come pick me up. So win-win there. Finally, something that I learned to do as a legally blind person that you probably have never had to do if your eyes work correctly is to listen really fast. When I say listen fast, I mean really fast. So I don't use a screen reader for my computer or my phone terribly often, just because of the way my eyes work. I don't tend to need to. However, sometimes I do. Sometimes I need it, and sometimes it's just convenient. But more specifically, in school, when I would listen to books for English class or for history or whatever other class, because, oh my goodness, reading that much when you have a 5-degree field of vision is exhausting and takes forever. So when I would be listening to my textbooks, it can also take forever if you're listening to normal speaking speed. So I would have to speed them up. And I got to the point where I could listen pretty fast. And I'm a little out of practice now because now I tend to read more for enjoyment. And so I listen to audiobooks at normal speed because I enjoy the performance and I just want to enjoy the story. I don't want to rush through it. But if I do need to speed up, I can, and I can understand speech at a pretty fast rate. Not as fast as my brother can because he uses speech every day for, just about everything. And so he listens even faster than I do. But I listen faster than your average sighted person does because I had to. Because the only way you get through all of your homework in high school is to listen quickly. And the only way you get through all of your reading in college, when you have a 5-degree field and a lot of your reading has to be done through listening, is to speed things up and listen quickly. And I will say, at this point, even now, even out of practice as I am, I prefer the sound of like screen readers and those synthesized voices. I prefer them fast. When they are at what is considered normal speaking rate, it is painful for me to listen to. I just cringe. I absolutely cringe because it just sounds so slow and so unnatural. And when you have a synthesized voice like that, the faster you can make it go, the easier it is, at least for me, the easier it is to listen to, because it's not supposed to sound natural at that point because it's speaking so fast. But if you have it at a normal speaking rate, your brain says, oh my gosh, you should sound like a person. And it doesn't sound like a person. It sounds like a computer. And it's so cringy to listen to. So that's something else that I learned that perhaps as someone with normal working eyes, you wouldn't have learned, is just how to listen really fast. So that is it for today. Those are some things that I had to learn as a legally blind person growing up, going through school, that most people likely don't have to learn because their eyes work correctly and mine don't. So I hope you enjoyed. If you did, please feel free to give this video a thumbs up. And again, if you like this content and are interested in seeing more videos like this from me, feel free to hit that subscribe button, hit the notification bell so that YouTube lets you know whenever I post new videos. And let me know in the comments, what is something that you had to learn or that you had to deal with growing up that most people wouldn't have had to learn? Whether that is a language or a culture or something related to a disability. I'd love to know, what experiences do you guys have? All right, everyone, I hope you have an awesome day. Thanks for hanging out with me today. And until next time, see ya!